enemy. You better watch out if your enemies.
Hello and welcome to this new chapter. We are going to talk about nutrition, concepts and macronutrients. We will talk about concepts in nutrition and macronutrients. Do you know that there are 4 or 5 phases of every person? I always say that PSM or community medicine, what you fondly call, it's a buffering branch. Why do I say buffering branch? Let us say you are feeling very sad. If you are feeling sad, I always say that go and read RCH program, Mother and Child Health Problems. You read MCH indicators, you read about demography, you will forget your problems. Wherever if you are feeling sad, you will come to a normal baseline. That is what is a buffer. So PSM will buffer you. In case you are feeling very joyful, you are happy, you want to just dance around. If you want to dance around, go and read waste management. You read about environment and air and water and biomedical waste management. You will be buffered back to your normal life. You will see why on earth I am studying this. And in case you are feeling very aggressive, you are on the top of the world, aggressive, you are on top of the world, you are highly motivated, overconfident, I say. In case your confidence is just touching the sky, go and read a little bit about epidemiology. You read about biostats. You read about screening of disease. Automatically, you will be buffered down. You will be humbled that, okay, I'm good wherever I am. Let us say you are feeling scared. And let us say you are feeling like depressed or low. You don't want to study. Go and study this concepts of disease or concept of health or the infectious disease epidemiology. Automatically you will feel happy because you are knowing 90% of the things already. Read communicable disease, you will already be knowing 90% of the things. So you will feel very happy. If they can do it, I can also do it. And that's where we come right now. Let us say you are feeling hungry right now. If you are feeling hungry, read nutrition. It will tell you that if you have taken those 2-3 Bourbon biscuits or very hi-fi cookies, it is going to tell you that you have already consumed the 1/4 of your recommended dietary allowance. And all those who have just taken 2 large shots of whiskey on the rocks, you will understand from this chapter that you have consumed half of your daily requirement. So with that, keeping things in mind, these PSM is a big buffer system. And let's talk today about nutrition and macronutrients and concepts in nutrition. So now let us have a look at the first topic. Question number 1. You need to do what do you mean by the proximate principles? What do you mean by the proximate principles? Proximate principles are nothing but the energy providing food products. What do you mean by the energy providing food products? The energy providing food products are nothing but the carbohydrate, the proteins and the fats. Next MCQ. How much energy, if you're saying energy providing food products, how much energy they are providing? The carbohydrate will give us 4 kilocals, protein give us 4 kilocals and fats will give us 9 kilocals. Okay, remember fats will give us 9 kilocalories, protein, carbohydrate give us 4 kilocalories. A small MCQ over here, what is this kilocalorie? Mind you that 1 kilocalorie here in India is equal to 1 calorie as per the US nomenclature. You might say that's a very absurd thing you're telling. I don't believe this. But you need to believe this, that 1 calorie with the capital C is nothing but 1 kilocalorie. So 1 kilocalorie in US, they write it as 1 capital C, that is called as a calorie. Okay, so the unit of calorie that the US agencies would take is nothing but a kilocalorie. In India, what we are taking is calories. So subconsciously in my section, in my lecture, in my session, I might sometimes say 4 calories. So don't take it literally that he's saying 4 calories and not kilocalories. Calorie and kilocalories will be same. Next is a lateral MCQ I would like to bring out over here is that what is 1 kilocalorie? Please remember that 1 kilocalorie is equal to 4.184 kilojoules. Joules is the unit of energy, right? 1 kilojoule on the other hand, if you just reverse it, 1 kilojoule is equal to 0.239 kilocalories. So if you can remember this if you want to, but please remember that 1 calorie is equal to 1 kilocalorie and 1 kilocalorie is equal to 4.184 joules. Coming back to our story. So we have done 2 points. What are proximate principles and what is the level required by the proximate principles? Next is question number 3, what is the dietary goals? What are the dietary goals? The dietary goals are you're supposed to have food in particular quantities. The carbohydrate should be 50 to 70% of your diet. The protein should be 10 to 15, 20% of your diet. And fat should be 20 to 30% of your diet. So that is your dietary goal. Carbohydrate 50 to 70, protein 10 to 20 and fat should be 20, 30. I know that proteins I'm writing as less, but that's how it is. Fats are 20 to 30% of the diet, protein 10 to 20 and carbohydrate 50 to 70% of the diet. That is your dietary goals. Point number 4. What do you mean by a prudent diet? What do you mean by a balanced diet? Balanced diet. And what do you mean by a staple diet? So these are the 3 types of diets that will come into work a lot of time. Prudent diet is a diet which adheres to the dietary goals. So what are the dietary goals? The dietary goals are to have carbohydrate, protein and fat in regulated quantities. What do you mean by a balanced diet? Balanced diet is a diet which contains all nutrients. It contains all nutrients, both macro and micro, all nutrients in required quantities in required quantities to prevent from any excess or deficiencies. That is called as a balanced diet. See, prudent diet is a diet which will adhere only to the dietary goals. So what you are bothered is only with the dietary goals. That what is the dietary goal? Carbohydrate, protein and fat should be taken in the required quantities. So that is what is a prudent diet. Prudent diets are usually used for temporary phases like in operation after post-op patients, or renal diets, diabetic diets. Usually in hospitals you are more adhered to the dietary goals. Right? So these are like survival type of diets. They are temporary diets. They are used to achieve a specific goal. So once you achieved a specific goal for sustenance of life, you always need a balanced diet. What is a staple diet? Staple diet is nothing very special. It's a culturally acceptable diet which is consumed by majority of the population. So that's a staple diet. So Rajasthan has its own staple diet, Karnataka has its own staple diet, Tamil Nadu will have its own, Kerala, Gujarat. So India is a big country, right? You have so many staple diets, and balanced diet is a diet which is taking care of all the nutrients. Point number 5. You already know that there is energy providing food products. These are called as proximate principles. If these are the basic proximate principles, carbohydrate, protein and fat, based on which you have the prudent diet, what do you think about fiber and alcohol? These are some diets which give us energy, but they are not accounted for in the prudent diet. So extra food products. So point number 5, you're going to do the extra food products which can give energy. The extra food products which give energy is what you need to remember for your exam. Please remember that there is something called as fiber. Fiber will give us 2 kilocalories per gram of fiber, and you also have alcohol. Alcohol give us 7 kilocalories per gram or per ml of the alcohol. Apart from this, you just need to know that what about water? Water, pure water, that is H2O, does not give you any calories. It's taken as a 0 calorie. Of course, water may be having some added minerals and vitamins or things like this into it, but pure water is not having any calories. Fiber and alcohol, they do have some calories. MCQ over here, what is the recommendation for fiber? The recommended dietary allowance we will be taking after we close this chapter on macro and micronutrients. At the end, I'll be discussing all the RDA changes which happened in year 2020. So just a brief sensitizer for that. Fiber, do you know that the recommendation for fiber is there now? That fiber, how much requirement is there? There is 20 grams of fiber for every 40 grams of fiber, 40 grams of fiber for every 2000 kilocals is what is required as per the RDA. It is 20 gram per 1000 kilocals, or in other words, we say it as 40 grams per 2000 kilocals. Whatever you want to remember, you can remember that. That is the daily allowance for fiber. For carbohydrate and proteins, you have already done about the carbohydrate, proteins and fat. Point number 6. Topic number 6. What do you mean by food adulteration, additive, food fortification and enrichment? There's slight differences between them. So what do you mean by food adulteration, additive, fortification, enrichment? Any substance which is added to a food product. That is a common start line definition. Any substance which is added to a food product which harms the body or decreases the nutritive value, that is called as food adulterant. Example for this could be adding brick powder to chili powder. Example for this would be adding, what do you think about milk in water in milk? Does it harm the body? Of course it won't harm, but does it decrease the nutritive value of that milk? Yes. So adding water to milk is again it's an example of food adulteration. What do you mean by additive? Food additive is any substance which is added to a food product which does not alter the nutritive value, but it increases what? But it increases the shelf life or consumability of the product. That is called as additive. Examples of food additives are anything which is non-nutritive, but it increases the shelf life. Example could be, or it increases consumability. Example is strawberry flavor. So you have these all flavored ice creams, you have choco flavor. That doesn't mean there is essence of choco into it, right? Strawberry flavor is just a preservative. So that's just a coloring or a flavoring agent. So adding these coloring agents or flavoring agents or adding some of the chemical preservatives. So these are all examples of food additive. Preservatives to the particular food product, these are all examples of food additive. What do you mean by food enrichment and food fortification? Food fortification is any substance which is added to a food product which increases the nutritive value. It increases the nutritive value. So what is enrichment? Enrichment is any substance which is added to a food product which increases the nutritive value. So what is the difference between them? The difference between them you need to understand is that in food fortification, you add a chemical substance or you add a nutritive value substance to a food particle which does not belong to that particle food product initially, or it was absent in that food product. But what is food enrichment? You enrich it. It was already present in that and now you are enriching it. You have heard about iron enriched Parle-G biscuits. You have heard about iron and minerals enriched Horlicks or Bonvita. Why don't they write iron fortified Bonvita? Because Bonvita or these cereals or these biscuits, whatever it is, they are made from cereals, not the TV cereal. They are made from cereals with C. So if they are made with the cereal with C, they must be having some iron, some protein, some calories, something they must be having. So once we add some iron content or the mineral content and we enrich it, that would be technically put under the food enrichment. What is food fortification? Fortification is, example is iodine in salt. When we add iodine in the salt, Then the iodine in the salt, where do you prepare salt from? You prepare it from the sea. And once you add iodine, some iodine was already there. It must be deficient, but you make it to be higher level because salt is initially devoid of iodine. How do you prepare salt? It's by evaporation, right? So if iodine also evaporates, water also evaporates. Initially, it must be having some iodine, but when we prepare salt, it is devoid of iodine. And then we fortify it. So that's the reason we say iodine fortified salt. Are we getting it? And plus fortification would be a chemical method where you add a new substance to the salt so that it retains that particular substance into it. So please remember, what is food fortification? Food fortification is any substance which is added to a food product which increase the nutritive value and does not belong to that food product initially. Belong to that food product initially. So once we prepare salt, it did not have iodine, you add iodine, that's a iodization of the salt. What is enrichment? Enrichment is it increased the nutritive value and was present in the food in lower quantities, present in food in lower quantities initially. Lower quantities initially, that is what is a food enrichment. Example for food enrichment will be iron enriched biscuits, would be anything like any food product that you know. Fortification, example for fortification could be like salt and iodine. Salt with iodine. It is also vitamin A and vitamin D in oils. So we fortify them, right? So you add chemically a product which might, oil is what? It's pure fat. So these fat things, if you give them fat soluble vitamins, you probably can take them, and that food product will act as a vehicle of taking these particular micronutrients. So that is small brief differences between adulterant, additive, fortification and enrichment. Next, let's come to the main topic. Let us now talk about the proteins indicator. I told you all the RDAs we are going to take at the end of the section when we are completed with macro and micronutrients very fast. But please remember, in your exams, you might be asked questions on the recommended dietary allowance because they have been changed this year in 2020. Let's talk about the protein. First MCQ, what are the functions of protein? You all know the functions of protein. They are for body mass building, they are for muscle building, they act as enzymes, they are used in enzymes, and so many functions of protein are there. For assessment of protein, we have various indicators. The indicators could be amino acid score. That is amino acid score is given by the formula. It is the amount of amino acid in a food product divided by the amount of same amino acid where? In the reference protein. So which one is the reference protein? Please remember, egg is called as the reference protein. So let us say I have substance A. In that substance A, let us say there was 6 milligrams of any folate or methionine or something. So you're talking of some amino acid. Egg has, let us say, 9 milligrams of that particular methionine, or we're talking of methionine, let us say, right? Milligram or microgram. So what is the amino acid score? The amino acid score will be 6 divided by 9 into 100. That is what is the amino acid score. It is expressed in percentages into 100, and that will be the amino acid score. It is a very gross indicator. Why? Because there are multiple times that the amino acid score could be like 16. But what if there are protein inhibitory elements in this particular food product? Then the total absorption is only 2. Are you getting it? In case of any inhibitory substances, then the absorption is very less. So technically speaking, amino acid score is never a very good protein quality indicator. It is just a very gross general indicator. So now let us go and understand some more things. Let us say that there is a person. This person, let us say he eats anything. He eats one of the biggest samosa which is available in the town. So he eats a samosa. Samosa is having, let us say, paneer or cheese, or it has a lot of protein. By chance, just for example's sake. And let us say this protein goes into the intestines of the body. So in the intestines, some will be obviously absorbed inside the body. And of course, common sense, some will be excreted out. So there is a level of ingestion, and then there is a level of absorption in the body. out of the amino acids which were absorbed out of the protein which was ingested. The protein was ingested and amino acid was absorbed. Out of this amino acid, of course, some will be used for body mass, which is the main function, that is for development of muscle mass, and remaining others will be used for the other body functions. So there is a level where you are talking of the exact usability of that particular protein or the amino acid for body functions, for body mass building, which is the main function. So let us say this is what is the level, we call it as retained. How much is retained for body mass? So now you have level A, level B, and you have a body mass retainment from that amino acid, the nitrogen which is retained. So we check these three levels. So if I am going to check, so coming back to my story, just keep this picture in your mind. I have to change the screen now. Let us say that you talk about there was one ingested level, and then there is absorbed level, and then there is a retained level. Retained is in terms of the nitrogen retained, absorbed is in terms of the amino acid absorbed, and ingestion is in terms of the protein which was ingested. That's what we had done. This is level A, B, and C. This corresponds to what you had done previously. Now, moving forward. Now, let us say MCQ number 1. Now your MCQ start. Let us say that you want to find the protein quality indicator. What you do is you see the amount of protein which was absorbed in the body divided by how much was ingested in the body. Divided by how much was ingested, that is the level A. That is protein which is absorbed in the body divided by how much is ingested in the body. That means how much you can absorb. This absorption is what is called as the digestibility coefficient. There is a high chance you will get a question on this. This is a prospective MCQ due to certain reasons I'm going to tell you very shortly. This is called as the digestibility coefficient. Point number 2. You can also see the amount of nitrogen which is retained in the body. Amount of nitrogen which is retained in the body for body mass functions divided by the amount of amino acid which is absorbed in the body, So what is this? This is level C divided by level B. Are we okay with this till now? So amount of protein which is retained, let me color it, retained, divided by how much is absorbed, and over here you also had an absorbed. Okay, or absorbed. So now in this section, how much is retained? Try understanding how much is retained divided by absorbed will be independent of the type of food that you eat. Whatever food you ate, whatever methionine came, that methionine could come from paneer, it could come from cheese, it could come from bacon, it could come from pork, it could come from anything in the world. But once that methionine is there, how much is going to be retained? That is independent of the food you take. That funda is called as the biological value. That concept is called as the biological value. Please write it down. It is called as the biological value. So now you have learned two things. What is a digestibility coefficient and what is a biological value? Which of the following? So now MCQ over here, digestibility coefficient and biological value. MCQ over here, which of the following is an external protein quality indicator? The digestibility coefficient is an external indicator. Why do I say it's an external indicator? Because it is dependent on the food you eat. Why do we say the biological value? It's the biological value of a food, of a protein. Why do we say that the biological value of a protein is the internal quality indicator? Because it is independent of the food type we eat. It is an internal protein indicator. It is an internal protein indicator. Are we okay till now? Next. Now, when we combine these external and internal protein indicator, we can see, do you remember what was DC? Digestibility coefficient, it was the amount which was absorbed divided by amount which was ingested. Do you remember what was the biological value? Biological value is the amount which was retained divided by amount which was absorbed. So once you take both of them together, if you take both of them together, you multiply it, that is absorbed and absorbed gets cut. So what do you get? You multiply DC multiplied by the biological value. What do you get is amount of nitrogen retained for the body mass divided by the amount of protein which was ingested. Are we okay with this? This concept is called as the net protein utilization. This is a prospective MCQ for you. It is a prospective MCQ that you should understand what is net protein utilization, due to a reason that this year RDA 2020 has replaced many of the old indicators. NPU is a very frequently used indicator. It is a product of biological value and digestibility coefficient. Let us write down some of the MCQs so that it becomes more clear to you. So what you have done as the first indicator, you have studied about the amino acid score. Amino acid score, you have already done the formula. Second is, what is NPU? MCQs on NPU. NPU stands for net protein utilization. Net protein utilization, it is a composite indicator of the biological value and the digestibility coefficient. It is a combined indicator of both external and internal protein quality indicators. It combines both of them. The NPU is maximum for which food product? NPU is maximum for egg. Egg has an NPU of how much? And egg will have an NPU of 96 or 97. Some books say 96, some books say 97. You go and ask an egg how much NPU they have. We don't know. So different books are giving different answers. So NPU is 96 or 97. If you ask me, I would go with 97 because that's what the RDA guys, the NIN people, they are the biggest people in India for nutrition, right? NIN, National Institute of Nutrition from Hyderabad. So NIN is in Hyderabad and it's a subsidiary body of the ICMR, the big grandfather of public health, that is ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, that is based in New Delhi. So NIN is a body of ICMR and they say that egg will have a NPU of 97. It's not 100%. Nothing is 100%. Only God is 100%. So maximum is egg, 96 or 97. It is both internal and external protein quality indicator. It is biological value into the digestibility coefficient. The formula for NPU is, it is amount of nitrogen which is retained in the body, for body mass functions, divided by the amount of protein which was ingested in the body. So I hope you remember this long definition, but if you can't, if you are an average student like me, I would go with retained by ingested. That's all. That will give me a concept in the exam. So now, after you have learned about amino acid score and NPU, let us go and have a look at another third indicator. The third indicator is PDCAS. What is PDCAS? PDCAS stands for protein digestibility coefficient corrected amino acid score. Okay, AAS stands for amino acid score. It's a very long name. I got tired by writing so much. Protein digestibility coefficient corrected amino acid score. It was considered, mind the language, it was considered as one of the best protein indicator, even better than the net protein utilization. Why do you think it was considered as a better indicator than net protein utilization? Because a simple understanding that NPU can be same for two substances, whereas one is providing more protein. Simple, very simple thing, nothing, no rocket science. Let us say group A, one food product A is there, food product B is there. Let us say food product A has 40 gram of something, methionine, and food product has 20 milligrams of methionine, 20 grams or whatever, same units, okay? 40 gram of methionine and 20 grams of methionine. Let us say out of this whole thing, the nitrogen retained out of this 40 was, let us say, 16 grams. Okay. And out of 20, let us say it was 8 grams. Finally, who's giving you more protein? Obviously, common sense answer. Even a child will answer that A is more than B. So, which is better protein? A. But if you look at their NPU, what is the formula for NPU? It is amount of nitrogen which is retained divided by amount of protein which was ingested. So, if you do 16 by 40 mathematics, it will come out to be 40%. And if you do 8 over 20 mathematics, it will come out to be 40%. That means for the same NPU, you had a differential protein quality. So that's the reason we had to digestibility coefficient correct an amino acid score. Protein digestibility coefficient. You remember what is digestibility coefficient? It was dependent on the food product you ate. PDCAS is a better indicator, is a better indicator than NPU. Okay. But now in 2020, the NIN people, they have replaced PDCAS in all their documents. The more better indicator, that is digestible indispensable amino acid score. It's a bigger indicator now with PDCAS. That's what I want to tell you, that please remember in 2020 recommended dietary allowance document guideline by the National Institute of Nutrition, now you have a better indicator, that is DIAAS. What is NIN? NIN stands for National Institute of Nutrition. Where is it located? It's located in Hyderabad. So it's like Hyderabad. It's like the big daddy for nutrition that we have in India. DIAAS, that is digestible, indispensable amino acid score. Digestible indispensable amino acid score, currently it is the approved indicator. It is the used indicator. So it is considered as one of the best indicator for protein digestibility coefficients, and it is a digestible indispensable amino acid score. It tells you about how much is the ileal digestibility coefficient. Ileal digestibility coefficient of the food products. So this is one of the best indicator. So how many indicators you have learned? You have learned about the amino acid score, you learned about the net protein utilization, PDCAS, and you know the DIAAS. Please remember only one MCQ, which is the best indicator. Answer is DIAAS. In case this is not there in the option, then you are free to mark NPU. This, they have specifically mentioned that PDCAS is no more being used. Okay. Next MCQ, some of the other indicators for protein quality, we have something called as the protein energy ratio, or we have the protein efficiency ratio. So what is this? Protein energy ratio, PENR, and you have a protein efficiency ratio. What is protein energy ratio and protein efficiency ratio? Protein energy ratio, that means it is given by the formula. Protein energy ratio is given by the formula. It is the amount of energy from protein in the food, divided by the total energy from the food product. That means how much energy given by the protein in the food and the total energy from the food. If your food product has good amount of fat, then your maximum energy will be the fat component, will not be the protein, although you have very high protein. Are you understanding? This concept is given by the protein energy ratio. MCQ for you now. Can you tell me which food product has the highest protein energy ratio? Which has the highest protein energy ratio? Answer is your favorite answer, that is fish. Fish is having the highest protein energy ratio. Can you beat that? 80% protein energy ratio. That means whatever calorie you get from fish, 80% of that calorie is protein calorie. Okay, that's such a wonderful thing, that protein gives you, the fish gives you the highest amount of protein and the highest amount of protein energy ratio. The next indicator that we are supposed to do is the protein efficiency ratio. What do you mean by the protein efficiency ratio? Efficiency ratio. Protein efficiency ratio. Efficiency. What do you mean by efficiency? It is the efficiency is under laboratory conditions. What is the maximum output a system can give? So protein efficiency ratio is given by the formula amount of weight gain per unit of protein. So proteins are basically having, the main function is to have the weight gain. But it does not that you eat a fish and then you sit on a weighing scale, how much muscle mass is increased. It doesn't happen like that, right? So protein efficiency ratio, it's a laboratory indicator. It's a lab indicator. And we can assess the amount of muscle mass gained or amount of weight gained per unit gram of the protein consumed. That is protein efficiency ratio, but it's not used any day. Yes, protein energy ratio is what we use couple of times. Next is topic number 8. What are the limiting amino acids? The limiting amino acids. So you have some limiting amino acids in the cereals, you have some of them in the pulses, and you have some of them in maize. What are the limiting amino acid in cereals? I don't know, that's how I have remembered. So I'll share my mnemonic with you. You can use you are free to use your own way. No compulsion. So don't take it heavy on your head that sir told do this only. Nothing like that. Enjoy your life. This is nutrition guidelines. Nothing very serious. Nobody is going to take any nutrition anywhere. Cereals. Cereals, the limiting amino acid. What are cereals? In Hindi, we say cereals are nothing but wheat and rice, right? So what do you make out of wheat? You make a roti or a chapati. And what do you make out of rice? You make rice. How do you serve a cereal? That's what I wanted to say. The final thing is, how do you serve a cereal? Is it served in a glass, in a katori, in a thali? It is served in a thali. So, I know it might sound funny to you that cereals are served in a thali. They are limiting in threonine and lysine. There is no amino acid which starts with th except threonine. And there's no amino acid which starts with li, that is lysine. So please remember, I don't know, would you remember, but don't get confused in the exam. Pulses. What is the limiting amino acid in pulses? What are pulses? Pulses are dals. I hate dals because in the hostel, every day they make dal and dal and dal. Today, yellow dal. Next day, light yellow dal. Then you have a dark yellow shaded dal. Then you have a watery dal. Then you have a thick yellow dal. It's like the yellow dal is, you look at a yellow dal and you think of so many things, right? So pulses. I used to get headache after eating pulses. So I used to take paracetamol. So pulses are deficient in cysteine and methionine. I don't know how will you remember, but don't get confused in your exam. That's the end story of this whole lecture. Next is maize. So pulses are deficient in cysteine and methionine. Remember, paracetamol you need after you eat all shades of dal. So next is maize. Maize is what? Maize is challi or bhutta or corn, right? Maize is a corn. So whenever I go on road, I used to see the tractors with the trolley with the corn. So corn, I remembered it as a trolley. So the limiting amino acid is a tryptophan, and LY stands already for lysine. So I don't know how you're going to remember it, but that's how I have remembered it. Please remember, I'm saying it again for you. Nobody is going to take any nutrition anywhere. It's all going to stay here. Whatever way you want, at the end of the day, do it good in your exam. That's what we want. That's what we pray to God as well, that you should be doing very good in the exam and you should get your desired results. Anyways, all said and done, I already know that after 4 to 5 years, everybody is going to sit down in the medical colleges, doing their residencies, and you will be on the top of the world. So stay focused, stay calm. Whenever the right time is there, you will automatically make the things happen. Don't push yourself too much. So I'm a firm believer. Of course, you should be sticking to what you should be honest to yourself, right? So stay focused, stay calm, and keep on paddling under the water. Don't show to the world that what you're doing. So that's what is pretty important for you to understand, because staying calm from the head is what is going to give you the best things in the life. So anyways, coming back to the story, cereals are deficient in, come with me, cereals are deficient in threonine and lysine, thali. Pulses are deficient in paracetamol, methionine and cysteine. Maize is deficient in a trolley, tryptophan and lysine. MCQ, which of the following is the most deficient in all the cereals? All cereals are generally deficient in lysine. Lysine is the most deficient element in the cereals. It is one of the most deficient amino acids in the cereal. That is what you need to remember. Maize deficiency, or people who are not deficiency, maize predominantly eating people will get some deficiency. What is that deficiency called as? It is called as pellagra. What is pellagra? Pellagra is due to a niacin deficiency. Niacin deficiency. Why on earth would somebody get a niacin deficiency? Try understanding that niacin deficiency, what causes a niacin deficiency? You already know that corn is deficient in tryptophan and lysine. And you already know that tryptophan is the precursor of niacin, and that's the reason you already know that 60 milligram of tryptophan is going to yield 1 milligram of niacin. 60 milligram, you already know that 60 milligram of tryptophan causes 1 milligram of niacin. All said and done, my purpose is not to tell you biochemistry over here, but my purpose is something else, that if you eat corn every day, then only you're going to get pellagra. But have you seen any person who morning gets up, eat corn, afternoon corn, night corn, every day, morning, afternoon, evening, corn? Only then they will get pellagra. Why on earth people get pellagra? people get pellagra because they must be eating something else. They must be eating something over there. You should also know that corn, it contains very high amount of leucine. Leucine containing food products. Leucine containing food products, they inhibit tryptophan to niacin metabolism. So once you are eating corn, wherever you are getting tryptophan from other food products also, that also gets inhibited. So one is corn does not have niacin. One is it does not have niacin. Second, it has something which is going to cut niacin from anywhere source. So you are like a checkmate. Now no niacin in the body, and that's the reason people get pellagra. So that means pellagra, there are two mechanisms. One is absence of tryptophan, which is of course absence of niacin. And also there is excess of leucine, which is anti-niacin, or it is like it kills the chain reaction between tryptophan and niacin. So leucinogenic food products are also pellagrogenic. Leucinogenic food products are also pellagrogenic. That is what you need to remember in this topic on limiting amino acids. Let's come to the next topic and talk about fats. Fats can broadly be classified into two areas. Fats can be broadly classified into two types. We can have a saturated fats and an unsaturated fatty acid. The unsaturated fatty acids can further be classified into two types. You can have a monounsaturated fatty acid, or we can have a polyunsaturated fatty acid. Polyunsaturated fatty acid can further be of two types. You can have an omega-3 fatty acid and an omega-6 fatty acid. So that means how many types of fatty acid you can know? You know 4 types of fatty acid. You can have saturated fatty acid, monounsaturated, omega-3 and omega-6. Are we clear in this? So fat is saturated, unsaturated. Unsaturated is MUFA or PUFA. PUFA is further of omega-3 and omega-6. You got this? Next MCQ. MCQ number 1 was this only classification. MCQ number 2. What are the predominant sources of these? Saturated fats. What is the difference between a saturated and unsaturated fat? Unsaturated fats are having double bonds or triple bonds. They are usually having triple bonds. Unsaturated fats, and they are predominantly plant sources or vegetarian sources or the vegetable sources. The unsaturated fats, they are predominantly animal sources. Don't forget this, they are animal sources. They are double bond or they are single bonds, and saturated fats are what are single bonds, and they are usually animal sources, and that's the reason we say saturated fats are fats, and that's the reason we say unsaturated fats are usually typically oils. Done. Now let us come and talk about each of them. You're talking of saturated fatty acids, monounsaturated fatty acids, about the omega-3 and the omega-6. Are we okay with this? Now if you're going to talk about all these, let me just handle them with slight more care. Omega-3 will be needing a slightly bigger space. So saturated fatty acid, monounsaturated, omega-3 and omega-6. First MCQ, what is the names of this? So you should start with MUFA. The name of MUFA, I don't know how you are going to remember it. So I'm sharing with you how I have remembered. That's all that I'm doing. MUFA is called as oleic acid. Just remember, that's what I have remembered. MUFA is called as oleic acid. MUFA is what is oleic acid. MUFA is oleic acid. If MUFA is oleic acid, what is omega-3? Omega-3 is a bigger name, right? Omega-3 is small number. So small number will have a bigger name. The name is alpha linolenic acid. Don't get confused with linoleic. Omega-6 is big number. It will have a small name. Big number, small name, small number, bigger name. Omega-6 is linoleic acid. It is linoleic acid. Remaining everything in this world is a saturated fatty acid. Example would be lauric acid. Example would be stearic acid. Example would be palmitic acid. So all these acids are saturated fats. First MCQ. Second MCQ. What do you think is the common sources, or what are the common food products which are highest in these? I don't know how you are going to remember it. I always start with MUFA, right? MUFA, the richest source is MUFA. Moongfali. I don't know if you understand Hindi. MUFA, moongfali, MUFA, moongfali. What is moongfali? That is a groundnut. MUFA is also rich in mu, that is Mustard oil. Mustard oil or groundnut or mustards are rich sources of MUFA. MUFA, moofly, MUFA, mustard, MUFA, oleic acid. Some people can also remember it as, initially when I was a student, I used to remember it as, oh my God, what is this? Oh my God, oleic acid, MUFA, mustard, groundnut. Oh my God. Omega-3 is omega-3 richest source. Don't answer fish over here. I know you are tempting to answer fish over here, but mind you, you made a promise to me that omega-3 is a type of unsaturated. Unsaturated is a vegetable. Don't answer fish. Fish is not a vegetable. So what is the richest source of omega-3? Omega-3 is alpha. I'm not writing fish. Alpha, flaxseed. Alpha is flaxseed. What is the richest source for omega-6? Omega-6 is double of 3. So 3 has 1 F. Alpha has 1 F, right? Alpha has 1 F. Flaxseed has 1 F. Omega-6 will have some name with 2 Fs. What is the answer? Can you think and tell me? It is safflower. Omega-6 is double of omega-3. And that I'm telling you, I'm sharing with you what I know. So omega-6 is double of omega-3, that is double F. Omega-3 is single F. Flaxseed, alpha. MUFA is, oh my God, oleic acid, mustard oil, muesli, that is groundnut, and groundnut G. Saturated fats, you already know. What is the example of saturated fats? That is the animal foods. So animal fats, they are predominantly saturated fats. All the plant sources are predominantly unsaturated fats. Let's move ahead. What is the long chain fatty acid derivatives? The long chain fatty acid derivative of omega-3. The long chain fatty acid derivative of omega-3. Small number, bigger name. Right? Small number, bigger name. That is called as eicosapentaenoic acid. Eicosapentaenoic acid. Right? You tend to get dyspneic after saying eicosapentaenoic acid. And omega-6 is what? Omega-6 is what? It is arachidonic acid. Arachidonic acid. So you don't get dyspnea. Bigger number, small name, smaller number, bigger name. Omega-3 is big name, omega-6 is small name, eicosapentaenoic acid and arachidonic acid. Now, what is the richest sources of these? What is the rich sources of eicosapentaenoic? These are complex chain fatty acids. These are complex chain or long chain fatty acid derivatives of the omega-3 component. So, what is the richest source of eicosapentaenoic acid? EPA. The richest source of eicosapentaenoic acid is, now you're free to answer your favorite F. The free to answer your favorite F. What do you want to answer? Answer is fish. Fish. So please remember, fish is a good source of eicosapentaenoic. Flaxseed is a good source of direct omega-3. On the other hand, arachidonic acid is a good source of milk. Like arachidonic acid is richly found in milk and egg. So these are the richest sources, the names and the sources you need to remember for your exam on fats. Coming back to our MCQ, another important or interesting thing you would like to know, all animal fats, based on this only, all animals are good sources of saturated fats. That's what you learned. Except which animal is hiding towards the unsaturated side? We find an animal that is called as fish. So please remember, all animals are good sources of saturated fat except fish, which goes to the other side. If fish goes to the other side, there is one plant also which is taken by the saturated. They say nature is balanced, right? So all plants are unsaturated fat except which plant? Which is saturated. Answer should be coconut oil. Coconut oil is saturated. Fish is unsaturated. They don't go to their homes, and both are commonly found in Kerala, in Tamil Nadu. So please remember, coconut goes to the other side, fish goes to the other side, and they don't go to their homes. So please remember, fish and coconut are of different answers, and remaining all are like this. Going ahead next, you already have learned that fats could be of two types. We can have saturated fatty acids and unsaturated fatty acids. The recommended dietary allowance for the fats is saturated fat should be 10% of the total fat. How much should be the total fat? Roughly, they say that 20% of fat should be, of your total diet should be 20% of the diet. 20% of the diet should be fat. So saturated fat should be less than 10%. Unsaturated is how much? Remaining 90%. Out of this, 1/3 should be MUFA. That means 30% should be MUFA, so remaining 2/3 should be PUFA, polyunsaturated. The remaining 2/3 should be, half should be omega-3 and half should be omega-6. They should be taken as 1:1 ratio, right? So technically speaking, this is what is the dietary guidelines, that saturated fat should be less than 10%, MUFA should be 1/3 of the unsaturated fat, and omega-3 and omega-6, they should be taken in the proportion of 1:1 for your diet. So that is what is the dietary guideline. That is what is you need to remember for your exam. Next MCQ. So you are point number 9 now. You have covered 8 points till fat. Next is PHVO. What is PHVO? PHVO stands for partially hydrogenated vegetable oil. Partially hydrogenated vegetable oil. What is this partially hydrogenated vegetable oil? It is nothing but the vanaspati ghee or the dalda ghee that we know. So what exactly is a partially hydrogenated vegetable oil? So it's a vegetable oil. So of course it's an oil, so it would be in a liquid state. But in a country like India, where you are supposed to feed 135 crore population, packaging of oils, transportation of oils, storage of oils is relatively expensive. You need bigger cans and so many things, expensive than storing a fat kind of thing, which is a solid kind of thing. So what if we can convert this oil into a fat or a solid type of thing for easy storage? So primarily we partially hydrogenate a oil to make it more solidified. That's all. So that's what is a vanaspati ghee. It is essentially a vegetable oil. What is the use? It is for easy storage and handling or transport. It also increases the shelf life of the fat or the vegetable oil. So please remember, in PHVO, since we are doing chemical transformation under the FSSAI, that is the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, under this, all the oils which are sold in the market, they should be fortified with vitamin A and vitamin D, with vitamin A and with vitamin D. Vitamin A at the rate of 2,500 international units and vitamin D at the rate of 175 international units per 100 ml of oil. They should be fortified like this, and then they will be sold in the market. This is what is the criteria for calling this PHVO. Next is just one point. You should also know what is a phrenoderma. Phrenoderma is nothing but a deficiency of essential fatty acids. It means a toad skin, and it is essentially a deficiency of essential fatty acid. Next, topic number 10 we are going to talk is what is a glycemic index. Glycemic index is nothing but an index. It is the rate of change of the blood sugar, rate of change of blood glucose per unit of food product consumed, per unit of food consumed. So it tells you the rate of change. If a food product is there, it is going to increase the sugar to this point, from this point, let us say. A food product, a person already had this much sugar, right? So it increases, this is the normal level sugar and this is the level after eating food. So this is, let us say, 60 mg per deciliter was your sugar level before, and once you take, it reaches, let us say, 110 gram per deciliter, milligram per deciliter. So now in a high glycemic food or in a low glycemic food, there could be differences. Like a food product, if you take, it can increase your sugar like this. So in that, it is also going to increase like this and then coming down. But the rate of increase is different. There could also be another substance which is going to do like this. There could be another substance which is going to do like this. It is going to have a sustained effect. So different food products will have different effects on your blood glucose level. So based on this, we are going to classify the food products based on their glycemic index. We can have something called as high glycemic index, moderate glycemic index, or we can have a low glycemic index. Please remember that in general, all the fruits will have moderate to low glycemic index. In general, anything which is artificial is going to have a higher glycemic index. Anything like artificial, like white bread. Examples, now I am writing white bread. We can also have rice. These are all high glycemic index food. Cornflakes, ice cream, all these are high glycemic index. Most of the fruits will be moderate to low glycemic index. Example for moderate would be like most of fruits. We can also have dairy products, which is a moderate glycemic index. We can also have brown rice, which is a moderate glycemic index. It's not a low glycemic index. Whereas if we talk of low food products, it could be all vegetables will be low glycemic index. We also have special fruits like guava. It is a low glycemic index. Other food, natural things, all natural things like fiber containing things like cereals, like oats, like quinoa, it's all low glycemic index. Pulses, these are all low glycemic index. Cereals, these are all low glycemic index. So anything which is high in fiber is a low glycemic index food. Don't think about the biscuits that we buy from market which are high fiber biscuits. So don't think the high fiber biscuits will be low glycemic index. They may be lower in calories because more fiber is there, but the glycemic index, it's not a natural thing, right? So the glycemic index of anything which is artificial, which is produced by man-made, it has to be a high glycemic index, right? So with that, we finished this topic on understanding most of your concepts in nutrition and in understanding the macronutrients. In the next module, we're going to talk about a little bit about the smaller micronutrients like iodine, iron, and vitamin A. And we will talk about the recommended dietary allowances 2020.
Hi guys, please subscribe my channels.